saying that you knew your daughter Maya was going to be in this business. You knew she was going to be a creator. She kind of has the DNA for me.
Yeah, she does.
There's really
I knew it so early.
Exactly. When you watch her now step into her own spotlight, like what is that like as a dad and seeing, like, the end of Stranger Things and kind of success she's had?
I'm so glad you asked, because the news, the world, Instagram, all of our lives is all full of like what a drag it is to get old.
Sure.
There's all these unforeseen highs.
Talk about it.
And like when you see your grown daughter excel and love her life and do her thing, and I know that little baby, and I know the 4-year-old, and I know the 13-year-old, and the 16-year-old that was mad at me, and the 20, it's a thrill that you can't be prepared for. And your life feels bigger than you ever could imagine it to be. And you realize you thought your life was your poem, and you realize you're a part of an epic poem. You're just a stanza in something so much bigger than yourself, and it's your kids that bring you into that light.
I love that.
When I think about my career in the arts, in all honesty, I have had a ball. I have had so much fun, and there has been so much wildness, and that's what I aim to preserve, the wild. Protect the wild. Thank you.
We write together for a quarter a century, and the first show he writes with someone else is gonna be the biggest hit he ever had. Am I bitter, Larry? Yes.
Let's talk about Blue Moon for a second. First of all, I loved it, but I felt like, how the did he do this? You basically did a 2-hour monologue. Like, at this basic level, how'd you even protect your voice talking so mumuch?
I love my family. I just do everything with them. And it was the first time in years where I told everybody they had to stay home.
Leave me alone.
It was basically, I went to acting camp, I ate, slept, and breathed running lines. The panic I would wake up with every morning, because I knew the day relied on me. Like, if I wasn't prepared, the whole train would break down. So no, but I love a good challenge. That's, as a performer, you're only as good as your opportunity.
Sure.
If the song isn't great, it doesn't matter how you sing. And so I had a great song to sing, and I wanted to do it to my best.
Well, you did your big one on this one, for sure. So I wonder, like, is there still an acting risk that you want to take?
Well, you don't know them till they present themselves.
Okay.
A director, mentor friend of mine a few years ago offered me to do Macbeth on Broadway. And I was like, okay, I never wanted to do that, but now that it presents itself, I'm like, well, what would that be like?
Yeah.
If I really knew what I was doing, I would do that. So you go and do it. Rick sent me this script, Richard Linklater I'm talking about, I got to play John Brown in The Good Lord Bird. And that, like, when I read that book by James McBride, and it was just, I was like, I gotta tell this story. I've gotta tell the story. And these things happen to you that you don't pre-plan them.
Yeah.
You have to kind of be alive and let it come to you. I think Guillermo or Oscar said tonight, the thing, you have to let the movie talk to you. You kind of have to let your life talk to you too.
Sure, I get that, for sure. And speaking of talking to, when you're waiting to go on there and you're hearing Mahershala just kind of laud you and talk about the man, the actor, all the things.
It is a privilege to be here tonight to recognize one of our community's greatest talents, a masterful artist and a truly wonderful human being. Ethan Hawke's approach to storytelling is an education in curiosity, transformation, and pure intention. Ethan is jazz. He plays the notes between the notes.
What is that like?
It is so surreal.
Yeah.
I really admire him.
Yeah.
I really like him a lot. And I was sitting waiting to go on next to Jane Fonda. And so I'm like, listening to this guy, and I'm looking over and there's Jane Fonda. I'm like, what? That's when you have these moments like, hey, Mom, check me out. Like,
Dear.
and to hear Mahershala talk about his dad, and it's why we do this, right? Is to connect with other people and other people's families, and so I don't know. It's really meaningful.
Yeah. You talk about like this kind of feeling bigger than yourself, like this
Yeah.
this whole. So what is there a personal project of yours that you feel like feels bigger than yourself, like that you know that maybe will be talked about for?
I don't know. I try not to think about what's going to be talked about in the future because we just don't know. You know, so many things that people think are
Yeah.
important one year end up totally forgotten. And Wizard of Oz is a bug bomb, and then it's the best movie of on. You know, I mean, we don't. All you're in control of is your own actions, and so I try to think more like that. I'm kind of a nerd about heroes. I like to think about the people I
Yeah.
admire, you know, and what they would do and how they would work through a problem and how to be a part of our generation, how to help right now.
Well, you have a lot of movies that are going to be talked about for a very long time, that are still being talked about today, that you made decades ago. So I think you're all right.
That feels good.
I think you're all right in this.